Good evening, guys. Welcome back to the 19th hole. As always, live on In Between Media. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Give it a jingle for those notifications for any In Between Media publication. This is the 19th hole, and this week we are going back to the mainland, the contiguous 48 states for the American Express, which is in the middle of the desert in Palm Springs, La Quinta to be exact, at the Nicholas courses at PGA West. Let's hit that drop. Ooh, I got to go off solo view. There he is. Connor, welcome back. Good evening to everyone. We're back in Cali for the West Coast Swing, the American Express, not to be confused with any other tournament we like to bet on the PGA Tour. This might be in the bottom three for our least favorite tournaments on the PGA Tour schedule. Nothing against the tournament. I'm sure it's great for Southern California charities. The format, however, should have gone by the wayside a long time ago. They got rid of the match play before this one. That's a travesty. Connor, how do you feel about the American Express?
Oh, just love it. Like can't wait, man. Just cannot wait to break down this absolute crapshoot of a tournament. But we did learn last year that if we trust numbers, you can find some value still. So let's
especially here. Because I predicted a long shot winner last week, and it came true, except it was such a long shot that nobody had him. Nobody was betting him. Nobody was putting him in their lineups, and the casinos won hugely on the Grayson Murray playoff victory at the Sony Open last week. Congratulations to Grayson Murray. Great story. However, for our bankroll, not good for any bettors. It was all good for the casinos last week. So we got to get back on our grind and find this week's long shot winner, because as John Rahm put it last year when he came through with a nice victory here at La Quinta, this is a putting contest. And it's unfortunate that we have to traverse 3 different golf courses, only one of which even has shot link. So good luck even tracking the progress of your golfers this week, because nobody knows anything unless you're on the grounds themselves. Good luck.
Yeah, it's a treat. It's a treat. And you said something right in the beginning that I wholeheartedly agree with. And I cannot believe that they keep this piece of shit around, but got rid of the match play, which I thought the match play, man, maybe I'm in the minority, but I thought the match play was awesome. Like,
I love the match play. They should have instead of getting rid of the only match play tournament on the PGA Tour schedule, they should change the format to match play on other tournaments, because it's just more compelling golf. 150 guys doing stroke play for 4 days. I mean, it's nice, but match play is just like the mental games that you can play face to face with another golfer, especially when that much money and status and all these things that are tied into PGA Tour card membership. It's insane how much pressure these guys are under already, but having to duke it out with another golfer on the same course at the same time, that's where the suspense comes from. So I implore the PGA Tour to actually make more match play tournaments in that same group play vein as the WGC was. I already missed the tournament. It's the missing weekend where it used to be. It hasn't even come up yet. It won't for months. And I already missed that tournament because it's not going to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing. I don't know. Maybe you can catch some live. That's an alternate format.
Oosh. Yeah, I guess they're getting better players every day.
I swear, if it keeps going the way that it's going, it sounds like Wyndham Clark's going to jump, and that John Rahm team's going to be something, man.
I think Wyndham Clark is the perfect guy to jump to live because he's striking while the oil's hot. This is exactly like he went years and years completely irrelevant, but he wins a major and he wins another big tournament pretty much back to back. And now he's got millions of dollars in his pocket and he's got attention on him for the first time ever. And here you go. Liv is going to offer that guy 7 figures to defect. Take all that money and run, Windy. That's it'd be crazy not to take that money right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been over this before, and I know that sometimes it's an unpopular opinion that I have, but I can't fault these guys, man. If that were me, I'm getting that bag.
Yeah, and as bad of a taste as it leaves in a lot of people's mouths where the money comes from, these guys are all free agents. They're all independent contractors. You should never count somebody else's money for them because it's none of your damn business. And if somebody's going to get a bag, then don't stand in their way. Don't give them grief for doing something that you would do in a heartbeat.
Speaking of counting other people's money, as I do recall, I handed out an ass whooping again to the IBT office crew this week in DFS. I'm still counting that money up.
Yeah, I mean it's a good way for you to go a couple weeks without depositing into the app. So congratulations.
Just another dominating start to a season.
Yeah, I mean we did pretty well on the betting side too. We of course did not come up with the outright winner of Grayson Murray, but we did get a top 5 finish out of Russell Henley, who missed the playoff by 1 shot. Disappointing finish for him on the last 3 holes. Bogeying 16 killed him. Par on 18 was a horrible fate to miss the playoff by parring a very easy hole. And then you had Akshay Bhatia, who paid off at a top 20 rate, but missed a top 10 payout of 6-1 by 1 shot. That would have been nice. But speaking of Akshay Bhatia, who's hotter on the planet than that guy right now? We'll get to more of him. Let's see. What are you drinking tonight? I got to know what you're drinking, Connor, because I mean, the whole chat's buzzing. Wendy Early's on time, which is unusual for her. She's already making old person jokes in the chat with Royal. Royal is old. He just retired. Congrats to him. But they want to know what you're drinking.
So a good friend of mine hooked me up with a single barrel Buffalo Trace that he was part of the tasting panel on. So I am breaking that out tonight. And like I was telling you before, it is pleasantly surprising because a lot of times these Buffalo Trace barrels are very like smooth and like sweet. This one's got all of the typical smooth, sweet caramel, vanilla, all that stuff, but it's got like an intense, like kind of alcohol burn to it. So it's got a real like savory, sweet type of vibe going on. So I am loving this. And as I also told you, I'm going to be indulging in it to eliminate some of this shoulder pain from handling the snow in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, and maybe it is your aging that has gotten you more sensitive to those spicy rye notes in Buffalo Trace. So maybe it's just that. Maybe you're losing your edge there, Connor.
I don't know, man. I know rye and I know burn, and this is burn.
It's just hot. It's not spicy. It's just hot.
This one's just hot.
Mr. Scampers is in the house.
What are you drinking? Are you sans booze this evening or what?
Oh, no. Actually, quite the opposite. I'm getting more booze for the buck. This is Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. Probably the best tasting value whiskey on the market. Bottle is $17.99 at the grocery store. And as far as all the bourbon notes you love, at a decent 100 proof, to get 100 proof that tastes good at $17.99, you can't beat that.
No, that's a go-to. That's a standby. Like
this is a camping must-have.
It goes to prove that people that spend 60, 70, 80 bucks a bottle on the hype brands are missing out, because some of these bottom shelf $20 bottles are every bit as solid as those expensive ones. And
especially when the price is the hype. Like, it's not like the juice is any better. Buffalo Trace is 20, 25 bucks now. Who knows? It actually is in other states where you can't get it as easily. It's 50, 60 bucks. It's Eagle Rare here is 30 bucks. and other places it's 80 because you just can't find it, or so many people bought it up from hype that the price has to go up. Bourbon's crazy like that. The price has nothing to do with the flavor in most cases.
No, definitely. If you go back and watch some of our content, probably the most evergreen part of our older content is us talking about our like what we used to do, Bo, was it only bottles under 30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had some good ones. We had some really good ones.
Go back and watch some of that. I also used to bartend on the show with a bunch of like kind of poorly strung together artifacts from my my alcohol
Your
selling
home bar.
days. So
we have both made cocktails live on this show.
And some good cocktails, honestly. Like,
oh yeah.
Like if you don't go back to watch the old golf content, just watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of old shows. Holy cow. Like we had some good times.
Electric stuff. The content was fire.
Now Bo and I just have too much knowledge to drop every week, so we don't have time to make cocktails. We got to get into things.
But we're still drinking just a little neat or on the rocks. Nothing fancy. Yeah, of course, Royal's an OG. He's okay, let's get into the betting side. Actually, let's go talk about the course here. Let's hit the drop for caddy notes. And Connor, you can drum up everything there is to know about 3 different golf courses at the same resort in the Coachella Valley.
I just have to point this out because they were within arm's reach when I saw Scamper's comment. These aren't Navy strength, but 2 of my favorite gins, like literally, are like eye level for me. So this one, Castle and Key, edition 3.
That's a good one. That's a great one.
My daily driver when I'm drinking gin is.
So you can't spell that without my name, so
I just call it Bo's.
Yeah, you should.
But yeah, no, let's see we can snap right back into the alcohol part of the show and just keep pulling bottles. All right, so trust me, I think it's more engaging content than the American Express, but we're going to do it.
So, definitely. There's no question. Unfortunately, there's no signature drink for the middle of the desert. So water is what you should drink at the American Express.
So, without further ado, the American Express 2024, we are in La Quinta, California, per usual. We got a 3-course rotation here. Everyone's going to play all 3 of the courses, and then we'll double up on the stadium course, finishing up there on Sunday. The 3 courses are the Pete Dye that I just alluded to, the La Quinta Country Club, the Nicholas Tournament course. All are running at a par 72. Your die is at 71.87 yards. La Quinta is at 70.60. Nicholas is at 70. Nicholas is at 71.59. So, varying information about what kind of grass we're on. Essentially, we're Bermuda. You may have some like POA and rye overseed here and there, but essentially these are going to play like Bermuda. Big things with the courses, there's over 90 bunkers on each course, so there's a lot of sand. Not that it necessarily matters tremendously here. Interestingly, and I didn't realize this, that close to half of the holes have water in play, and I think there's actually a stretch on, is it the stadium or the tournament, that there's a stretch of like 6 holes that have water off the tee?
I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah.
It's unimportant, but there is water here, so beware of EVR.
Don't play Eric Van Rooyen if there's water anywhere near. Like we nicknamed him. The acronym EVR for Eric Van Rooyen isn't even sufficient enough to give him a proper nickname. He is the willow branch. He will find water
without a doubt. Like the weather can get a bit iffy here. You can get some wind. You can get some moisture. Right now, the wind is going to be like super mellow. Now it's subject to change, but It does look like, depending on how the fronts move through, we're going to get some rain either overnight Saturday into Sunday or kind of mid-morning Sunday. But it's going to be like really moderate, shouldn't affect much.
Not at all.
I would put the projected score at somewhere between 23 and 27. That's kind of about an average of what we've been seeing the last few years. There aren't a whole ton of trends here, or at least not a whole lot of direct correlations. People that have been playing well or have got a few starts under their belts tend to compete here. But it's pretty much a gettable course by everybody. Approach game is important again this week, as it always is, but it's really about capitalizing on your opportunities, knocking the ball close, not giving any putts up. And that's really a big part of what I was looking at, is just guys that are giving themselves those opportunities inside of 10 feet. Like even a guy like Scottie Scheffler that's been struggling with the flat stick. Nobody has more opportunities or more looks at birdie than Scheffler, which is how he's been able to compete here, I think, over the last 18 months. But and just for historical sake, John Rahm last year at 27 under, Hudson Swafford at 23 the year before, Si Woo at 23 the year before that, and then Andrew Landry at 26. So you can kind of see we're right in that range. And not a whole lot.
It could be a favorite and it could be nobody. Hudson Swafford is a 2-time champion of this event, and he's not even in the field, even though he just won 2 years ago. That should tell you everything you need to know about the Amex. Is it could be a favorite like last year with John Rahm, who I think was 4-1 to win. And we, of course, didn't play that crazy short odds, but he won and killed the chalk for everyone. Like everybody betting on that tournament pretty much lost, because even if he won with Rahm, it wasn't going to be a very good payout. So you can bet Scottie Scheffler here at 5.5 to 1, or you can bet a completely buckshot approach to a bunch of long shots and pray for the best. The stats that I'm looking at are a correlation between tee to green stats, which of course create the opportunities for scoring, along with putting, especially in recent rounds. I think I went down to the last 24 rounds to find the hottest putters in this event to correlate with tee to green stats. That's kind of what I was looking at. Of course, par 5 scoring, with each course having 4 very gettable par 5s. It's going to be very important to get the guys who can make birdies, or more importantly, eagles, when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, I can't say that I have much different than you. I think once we get into our model building, et cetera, in a little bit here, like I think how we weighted things was different, but in general, and it's not exclusive to us. I think pretty much everybody is kind of looking at the same mix of stats, and it's really just about building a well-rounded golfer for the course, because pretty much anybody can pop up here. So
yeah, let's talk about the betting side of it with Club Twirls. What do you say, Connor? You good?
I love it. I got a refill.
All right, Club Twirls, we're taking the odds from DraftKings Sportsbook. You can use any of the books pretty much available to you. The lines are going to vary pretty widely from book to book. At the same time, a lot of the same guys are favored across all of the books. So starting at the top, you have Scottie Scheffler 5.5 to 1. You have Patrick Cantlay 10 to 1, and Xander Schauffele 11 to 1. Anybody here you're willing to throw some skin on, Connor?
So I do like Cantlay and I do like Xander.
Same.
Got the California roots. We're in double digits on both of them. I'm actually showing Xander, I think, at 12 to 1. So
that's even better.
I think I prefer Xander to Cantlay.
Me too.
But I think if you got room on your card, I think they're both really, really live here.
Correct.
Like I said, you got the SoCal roots. They both play well here. They both are elite in this field.
Tee to green numbers are off the charts. And I think what you're going to tell me right now is that you're leaning towards Xander because he's got a better short game. If you say, hey, Cantlay and Xander are equal from tee to green, who's got the better short game? It's Xander.
Yeah, and I think the two other pieces that I lean Xander on just are the proximity metric, that 150 to 175. He's
Yeah.
just better. And then opportunity gained, as far as that stat that I said was a big one for me this week, that looks inside of 10 feet. Xander's number 3 in this field. Cantlay's 33rd. Cantlay also is like not an excellent par 3 scorer. And I think that par 3s and par 5s are where you're going to make hay this week. And so if I got to pick one, it's Xander, but historically Cantlay has done really well here. And obviously Cantlay is still an elite ball striker. So,
well, and plus it's a pro-am, so with all the celebrities on the course, they're already playing 6-hour rounds. Cantlay doesn't have to rush through his process in any stretch because he's gonna have a bunch of duffers playing with him the first 3 days, really. So
that might still be slow for him. I don't want him to feel rushed. So,
I mean, Harmon's just as slow. Did you see that little pitch shot that he took eons to even get ready for his address?
oh my God, watching Harmon stand over a drive on the tee box is excruciating. I'm like, dude, are you gonna go? Like,
Especially with how automatic he is off the tee, like as accuracy wise. Like, dude, you don't have to think that hard. Just do it. Muscle memory is there for you. Like the results are great. So what's taking so long?
I mean, he's a pro, and you and I play rounds of golf in under 3 hours. So I mean,
His shots have 6 figures riding on each one of them. So I
but
guess I get it. It's understandable. It just doesn't compute because we're used to being able to whiz around a golf course in 4.5 hours just to get home to fix dinner or something like that. Like it's like 6 hours on a round and that's it. Like you might as well just be living by yourself.
you might be going home to fix dinner. I'm trying to get to the bar.
The 19th hole.
Yeah, I gotta drink off my round almost every time, but yeah, no. So getting back to the odds, though, I think Cantlay, Xander, and then oddly, I'm gonna take a few shots at Minwoo Lee. I think it's early, but I like the 25 to 1. He's been on fire. I don't love Minwoo this week, but you and I have been banging that drum so loud for Minwoo Lee. If I'm not there when he wins, like he's gonna make most of my cards until he does.
He's like Batia for me, but you're with me on Batia this week, so I can't even argue with you. We should take some shots at Minwoo, especially at 25 to 1, especially in a tournament where firepower is going to be needed. I mean, who has more firepower than Minwoo Lee? The dude's a birdie making machine, but can he do that 4 rounds in a row on 3 different golf courses? Hard to say. He's still young. He's still very talented, but the mental game I don't think is quite there yet. But it could be at this course. At this event, we could see enough out of Minwoo Lee to win it, especially if things get closer to 30 under par. Like if you start to see like perfect conditions where everybody's scoring, Minwoo can hang with anybody out there. I'll stick with a guy who just plays well here every single year, and that's Sungjae Im. At 20 to 1, he's as automatic of a top 10 pick as it gets. He's also been playing out of his mind the last 6 months. So give me Sungjae at a place that he loves and a place where if you got a guy from 150 yards, who do you want closer? Like him and Scottie. It's Sungjae and Scottie for who do you want from 150 yards to stick it close. And of course he's a better putter than Scottie by a long shot. So this could be a breakthrough win for Sungjae, who just seems to get a top 10 every time he comes here. Without I think he hasn't even won this tournament yet, so it's shocking. But I believe in him.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's for me, it's just a matter of room on the card. Like I think Sungjae definitely sets up perfectly here. My biggest thing with Sungjae is I think he's just gonna be that like a little bit like what we've been talking about with Tommy Fleetwood. Like he's always gonna be there, but he just doesn't seem to win as often as you think he should, given the setup. But I'm with you. Like this seems like it should be a slam dunk for Sungjae. So it's a pass for me, but it's nothing to do with how much I think he could win. It's just can't bet them all.
Yeah, it's the odds, and it's a tournament where you don't want to be aggressive on your betting slip because it's an absolute crapshoot. We're going to say the favorites are who they are, but chances are we're going to have a guy with triple digit odds win this tournament. And I guarantee it would happen last week. I didn't think it would be 500 to 1, but like I was right in a really wrong way. I don't like being right when I'm right to such an extreme where it hurts everybody. This might be another kind of 100 to 200 to 1 winner because everybody's in play. When the conditions are this prime for scoring, every single one of the guys in this field is capable of going out there and shooting 4 rounds in the mid 60s and winning this thing. There is nobody in this field that has no chance to win. Every single person here can do it.
That's 100% true. But I think this like 30 to 50 range is where we get the winner from this year.
I kind of like where you're going with this because there are 4 guys in that range that we're both looking very closely at, starting with the Postman, who does deliver on Sundays. Course record 61 at Waialae on Sunday. That's pretty good, right? He went from barely making the cut to, hey, look, I got a top 10.
Yeah, it's better than pretty good. I mean, dude, this guy has been ridiculous over the last, going all the way back to the Travelers, I think was the last time he missed a cut, right? And you look at what he's been doing just in the last like 3 to 6 months. I mean, he finished up second at the 3M Open, 7th at the Wyndham, proceeded to finish in the top 25 of the next 2 tournaments, 3rd at the Shriners, 5th at the Century, 6th at the Sony Open. And I mean, he is just peppering greens. He's making more birdies than anybody else in this field. He's arguably the best putter in this field.
Yeah, it's the 3rd best in the world. That should tell you everything you need to know about JT Poston is he makes birdies and a lot of them. And so far, I haven't found any metric that points me away from JT Poston for any kind of bet or DFS lineup, especially betting, because 30 to 1 for a guy who's stringing together top 5s like they're just a regular stroll through the park. That's an insult to have a guy that's running this pure still be 30 to 1 payout at a tournament where everything he does well is accentuated.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that you can throw shade at him on it, it's the fact that, you know, he is not necessarily the best off the tee. But I think here, like, we didn't talk much about it.
7,000-yard courses. I mean, this is nothing.
Also, there's like outside of like going directly into a hazard, like the rough here is next to non-existent. You know, you've got some trees in there. But, I mean, I don't see there being a whole lot of penalty for being a little wayward off the tee, especially with the approach game he's had. And on top of that, if you do miss greens, like Poston's been one of the best on any aspect of short game. So I absolutely love Poston here. I think in a bigger field, 30 to 1 is ridiculously short for JT Poston, but I think in this field, I think it's actually a good price on him. Like, I think given the current trend we're on, and so I'm really excited about that one. It seems like a little disrespect, but not as much as a guy that we like down at 55, which we'll get to.
Yeah, and that's one that's fallen considerably in recent days. Eric Cole's there 30 to 1 as well. I think he's just like Poston, but not even as good off the tee as Poston. Like, he's awful off the tee and great at everything else. Not running nearly as hot as Poston. Eric Cole's good. Burns is another guy that has done well here in the past. SoCal guy, great putter. But Tony Finau here at 35 to 1. This is, I mean, you hate him with a fiery passion, Connor. But Tony Finau on events where the winning score might be 30 under par, there's only a few out there. There's the 3M, there's the Rocket Mortgage, and there's the Amex. And Tony Finau does well on all of those. Because if you need a guy to make birdies and eagles, who better than the guy who, if you have narrow fairways and long rough, you pretty much just toss him aside as an easy fade. But any interest at all in Tony Finau this week from the guy who hates him more than anybody else?
Absolutely not. And not because it's just my bias. Tony Finau has really not done all that much in the last, call it even a whole year. I mean, he shows up to a couple tournaments or whatever. He does make birdies, but I mean, I would not say that Tony Finau is even approaching being in form. Over the last 24 measured rounds with Finau, he ranks out 133rd for me. He's been abysmal on the putting green. I think the only person worse than him that you would call elite is Scottie Scheffler. And then what was once like a prolific scorer, I mean, his birdies are better gained over the last 24 rounds is actually in the lower third of this field. So I don't like the Tony Finau resurgence thing. Sure, maybe that'll happen at some point this season. Like he'll find it, but for me, I don't need a whole lot of reason to not buy into Tony Finau because I think he's a total 50-50 proposition. He'll either compete or he'll slam that trunk. And I've been burnt by Tony Finau too many damn times, so I will let you ride solo on that.
Everybody who's watched this show for the last 4 years is well aware how much Tony Finau has burned Conor specifically. I seem to just play him at the select few tournaments, which I'm going to do again this week because I still think he has the chops to hang around in this type of place. But you're right, he could very well miss out on the 54-hole cut at La Quinta. I just don't see it happening. But you're right. We teased it earlier, but Akshay Bhatia 55-1. That is as insulting a line as you're ever going to find for a guy who's playing so well. This is the hottest golfer on the planet right now. And he was 60-1 last week and damn near won the thing. And this is a very similar length course that's going to require plenty of scoring. And it's even more in his wheelhouse because putting on these three courses is exponentially easier than it was last week at the Sony, where it might have tested Akshay's new broomstick putting style. And it didn't even, he was amazing again on the greens. This guy is going to win a tournament very soon. It might as well be this week when we're getting a 55-1 payout.
Yeah, I think he's right there with Eric Cole and JT Poston in terms of form right now. And if you look at him, I mean, he's a similar guy, especially in this fall swing. I mean, he's got a ton of top 20 and top 15 performances. I think the big thing that actually surprisingly to me, I wouldn't have said this without looking at the stats, but surprisingly what's been holding him back lately has been his off the tee game. And now he's not elite off the tee, but he's also not been gaining. Normally he gains between 1.5 to 2 strokes off the tee, at least in the last 8-9 months. Over the last few tournaments, that's the part that has held him back. And so he's made up for it. Specifically, he's made up for it around the green. Like last week, he was missing greens, but he was recovering so nicely. In the putting,
and that's uncharacteristic because he's as good on approach as anybody.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the silver lining to what he did last week. Is as I look at it, he rates out number one for me from 150 to 175, and which I think is going to be the vast majority of the shots that these guys are looking at. And the other complementary piece to that is that if Akshay gets the driver back to even his flat average of that about 1.2 to 1.4 strokes per game,
he's doing low.
He's going to win this tournament. So I think there's a lot less variables than that price would indicate. So I would go book it at 55-1 before it slides, because I think over the next 24 to 48 hours, people are going to get a little hip to it.
So speaking of hip to it, what in the world is going on with Ricky Fowler's odds? He opened this week as a 30-1, equal to Poston and Cole. He's down to 65-1. And for people, I don't understand this. This is a SoCal native who's done well at this tournament many, many times over his career. And he's playing pretty well the last calendar year. He rates out well on most metrics. I mean, there's a couple of spots where, like, on approach, he hasn't been quite as good. Putting, he's been streaky. But Ricky Fowler at 65-1 just seems like a misprice, and it just seems like it's going the wrong direction. And are we missing something here with Ricky Fowler? Why is he sliding so far?
I think the biggest thing with Fowler actually is I was looking at him, because I'm kind of with you. Like, I think the price is kind of odd, because I think he does fit into the same type of golfer that we're talking about when he's on. So I think he should be priced more accordingly with these guys. I think probably the differentiator for him over even when he was playing well, is that putter is just not Ricky Fowler. It's not the same as it was even when he was having his run of really bad golf, the putter was still at least somewhat saving him.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at the putter, and Ricky also used to have an elite short game, almost like Spiethish, and that Spiethian, and that has kind of gone away too. So I think Fowler is more volatile in that if the off the tee game or the approach game are misfiring at all, like he's not saving himself with the short game. So I don't know. Like I think this is a really good spot for him. I think it's a good place to bounce back. Is he's had some kind of subpar performances lately. So I mean, I don't hate it, and especially if that number is going to keep diving. Like I will.
Yeah, they're just looking for suckers like us, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems hanging a number.
They're about to hit my number here.
It seems risky, man. He could win at any time. It's Ricky Fowler. All it takes.
I know he's got crazy talent.
So
looking at 80-1, here's what we do on this show is there's a guy that the stat models will say is a must play, and everybody's gonna flock to play this guy because he pops up in the top 5 of every single stat model. And then there's a guy at the same level of odds that's a much better option to bet and play in DFS. The first guy, player A, is Alex Noren, who is the Dak Prescott of the PGA Tour, where the stats look great, but then it's all empty calories because he never actually wins anything. He never actually gets top 5s or top 10s. He just makes it look good on the stat sheet so that he can fool somebody else at the next tournament. And the second golfer B, is Adam Schenk, who has the worst name that a professional golfer could ever have, and yet he's probably going to contend in this tournament because he fits every single metric we're looking for, including recent form. This guy is on a little bit of a heater, and 80-1 on each of them. Noren or Schenk, Connor?
First off, I should have led into this with We Dem Boys. I forgot you're a Cowboys guy.
I don't know. I turned it off pretty early, so I don't even know what really happened.
Yeah, it's probably better you don't watch. But actually, this is going to surprise you, and I think we're probably going to be early on it. But I have a lot more interest in Keith Mitchell and Daniel Berger at that 80 number.
Yeah, Berger's coming back. Berger was injured for the last year, and he's back, and he fits this course like a glove.
Yeah, I think he's like I think he's a class above these guys. He's
for sure. But the uncertainty of what he's going to look like coming back from what he came back from, that's what scares people. But I think Daniel Berger from a year ago should be in contention, be like 30-1. But
I do think you have to acknowledge, though, that like any statistical model you're going to run, Daniel Berger is still going to pop. And that's the only reason, to be honest, I didn't even realize he was playing. Like he just popped in my model. I saw him and I was like, oh shit, Daniel Berger's back. But then you see an 80-1 number on him and he's just that much better a golfer. Like Adam Schenk is going to be popular for whatever. I think Noren is a little bit Ricky Fowler-esque, where like if Noren puts it all together for 4 rounds, like Noren's an elite player too. So I think if I had to choose one of the two you gave me, I think it'd be Noren. But oddly, like I'm a little into Bermuda Keith Mitchell.
I don't know. Overseeded Ryan Poana Keith Mitchell's not the same, because even though it's Bermuda, it's dormant Bermuda, which is why they overseed with the Rye and the Poe.
You got to remember with Keith Mitchell, we are quick to dismiss how good he is off the tee. He's also pretty good on approach. It's mostly his putting.
Yeah, and his short game in general is abysmal. He's Southern United States Corey Connors.
That's probably pretty apt.
He is Heartland Corey Connors.
But I do think, and I can't take complete credit for this statement, but I do think with Daniel Berger, you're probably not going to see him at 80-1, like very often. Like I think this may be a week where we might be a minute early, but the sheer fact that we can bet Daniel Berger at 80-1, I think you got
Yeah,
to.
it's noteworthy because we're talking Daniel Berger is one of the best collegiate golfers to ever live. That's how good this guy is, talent wise. He was a prodigy, and injuries have kind of derailed that from our recent memory. But yeah, don't discount Daniel Berger's ability to win a tournament, even if he hasn't been in the competitive atmosphere in a long time. The stats don't lie, and my stats came up with him at third in my model, I believe. Let's pull it up here. I can add this to the stage here. Oh yeah, can you see that? Okay.
I mean, I can't see anything because I'm in here with you, but hopefully people can see it. Okay.
Yeah, Berger is 11th in my model, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's definitely worth a few bucks. I mean, 80-1 is a great number on him. So I'm just not as sold as that on that range. Like, to be honest, there's just not a lot of people in there. Like, I like to have somebody in that range because I think you can find values there, but like I'm not super sold on really anybody in there other than laying down some money on Berger.
We skipped over Cam Davis. Unfortunately, I'm only playing Cam Davis in DFS, so we'll talk about him on the DraftKings side of this. But number one in my model blew my mind since he's not better than 7th in any stat. It just came down to how I weighted it. So yeah, I'm not betting on Cam Davis because I'm not a sucker, but I'll definitely hinge on him making some DFS points for me. Yeah, we've gone over all these other guys. We kind of skipped over Tom Kim, which we'll cover in DFS. Batia, Aaron Rye, another DFS sleeper under 8K that we'll get to. But notice Scottie Scheffler there at 5th. That's why we're not necessarily going to throw money on him in the betting realm because the putting matters here, and really it does. The correlation between putting and ball striking, I think, carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think putting matters, but ultimately, like you got to kind of be firing on all cylinders. And before we get into DFS, though, there are 3 guys that you and I brought up last week that we need to bring up again because their odds are really aggressive. And that's
ridiculous.
Jake Knapp at plus 110. That's Rio.
Hope you bet on him to make the cut last week, thanks to me.
I played him in DFS and it worked out okay.
Yes, it did.
Rio Hatsasuni, who you're going to hear me talk about every week. This dude is elite. Do not
Talent.
sleep on him. Plus 130. Like, that is a hell of a number on him. And then the other guy that I'm more sold on than Bo is Ben Coles at plus 150. This is a course that would make a ton of sense for Ben Coles to really compete at. So been very consistent, scores a lot of points on the DFS side, also scores a lot of birdies in real life. Very, very consistent player, and plus 150. He's that same kind of cut that we would have had back in like the 30s to 50 range when we were talking earlier. He's just a lesser known. So it's a really, really good value down there. And then Carl Yuan is another guy who's been on a hell of a run, also plus 150, same type of deal. So I don't know if you've got anybody super deep, but those are the ones I'm looking at.
I do. One guy that popped up last week, and there's not that many dissimilar things about Waialae versus these 3 courses. Very similar length, more par. Like par 72 versus par 70 is the biggest difference here. More par 5 holes to traverse. But Austin Eckroat pops for me in a big way. And he was damn near good enough to win last week at Waialae. This guy's playing way better than 130-1. And in a birdie fest where anybody can come from the back of this pack to win, Austin Eckroat playing hot, putting hot. Give me the guy who's playing great golf right now, because when it comes down to it, the stats matter less in this event than recent form. Recent form plays so much of a part of this tournament, because if it's a putting contest like John Rahm said last year, then I want the guy who's putting so hot that he can't be stopped. And there's a reason why all of these guys are on the PGA Tour. It's because they're damn good at golf and they can get hot. And like Michael Block is in this field. And Michael Block would be a non-story if it wasn't for this guy getting absolutely torrid, blazing hot at the PGA Championship last year. Nobody would have known for him outside of Palm Springs if it wasn't for a professional golfer getting hot at the right time. And Austin Eckroat's red hot right now, and 131 is crazy to me. And the other one is our guy, Dylan. Yeah, the 5 best rappers in the world, 200-1. And we're talking about if you're going to correlate ball striking to putting, who better than the guy who's in the top 50 in ball striking and top 10 in putting? Dylan Wu, great short game, passable from tee to green. 200-1 for a guy who's just a cut making machine these days. Give me the couple bucks on his outright, but top 20 bet and cut making bet. Easy money on Dylan Wu.
Yeah, you're going to get zero argument from me. Like Dylan Wu, I'll put Dylan Wu somewhere in my my financial commitments week on week, whether it's into DFS or whether it's into betting. But Dylan Wu is,
of course, every time we mention Dylan Wu, shout out Southern Oregon.
of course. Can we just take a moment of silence, by the way, before we move on, for Kevin Kisner, who is plus 1,500. like
the Kiz.
You want the I've done dumber shit with $5 bet this week? Put $5 on Kisner.
Hey, that's $3,000.
That's an insane odds for Kisner. I know he sucks lately, but holy cow! Like,
well, he's gotten into broadcaster mode now. So once that happens, I don't know if you can ever recover from it, because getting your mind into a golf tournament for 4 days, that's tough when you're getting paid to put a mic and clip it to your shirt. And wear makeup. So yeah, it's a different animal for kids. I don't know if I would do the same thing. Yeah, I can't do that one.
If anybody gives you 1,500-1 on anything, you take it.
It's true. Yeah, $2 to make $3,000. I think they can handle that.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got. Yeah, you got anything else?
Let's do some DFS. Or you got any prop bets you want to throw out there before we move on?
I do have one that actually I think is a pretty legit one. I've been big into these top 5 finish parlays lately. I got Cantlay and Schauffele to finish in the top 5 together, both of them, plus 1,100.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty solid for those two, because I genuinely think that
those two, yeah.
Like that's a pretty good number.
I would hope for more of a payout from other golfers, but like those two are pretty solid. That's especially since they're both pretty great all around everywhere they go. Like you can't find 2 more consistent guys than those two. And then their event history here is stellar. So yeah, I mean 11-1 to get 2 guys in the top 5. Let's do it.
Especially 2 guys.
Fuck it. Let's run it. Let's run it. 2 guys that we both like. Let's do it.
Yeah, that we think might win, who have good course history, who are absolutely the cream of the crop in this field. Yeah, I'll
have to thank you when they're in the 2-person playoff on Sunday.
I think there's a pretty good shot that they're going to be the last group out Sunday.
That'll be nice. That will be nice. All right, let's pull up the drop for the DFS. Let's try not to slam any trunks. Connor lucked himself into a 6-for-6 lineup, which is why he won, because his 2 guys that made the cut on the number were the only difference between him getting first or third, because I had a really good lineup and I had 2 guys narrowly missed the cut, because my 4 guys that made the cut blew yours out of the water. Sorry, Connor, but I'm a little bitter that my 4 guys weren't as good as your 6 guys.
Well, we got to give a little shout out to our newest writer at IBT, Ozzy, because Ozzy was spanking me for a good 3 days.
He was doing what now?
Yeah, well, you know.
So Ozzy's our new props writer. He's going to be a big part of what we do this season. And I invited him to the contest with Seth, our fearless leader. And he said he was going to make some donations early on the season while he learned how to play golf DFS. and he had a pretty strong showing, honestly. I don't know if he aggregated our picks like Seth did, but that's all Seth does. He aggregates our picks and then adds Callum Tarrant like he's a witch's brew. He just put in the eye of newt at the end, like a garnish. Callum Tarrant garnish. I think if he picked a real golfer other than Callum Tarrant, he might have beaten you. But
there's truth to that. But there's a couple of our listeners that I might have been out at the bar playing a little golden tee with, and I kept saying over and over, I cannot let the new guy beat me. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but he beat me, but that was because I missed out on a couple guys making the cut. My 4 guys that made the cut were stellar. I was feeling it in my other lineups with when I got the 6 for 6. I did pretty well. But let's get to not slamming trunks, Connor.
God bless.
The club as well. This would be a wrestling slam.
Well, Connor, top of the board, Scottie Scheffler, number 1 player in the world. I have a feeling this tournament on DraftKings for DFS is going to be 100% about leverage, because if you're playing chalk at this tournament, you're just asking to be burned.
Yeah, so that was going to be the first question I was going to ask you, because we hadn't talked about it, was how you're approaching this slate. For me, I think it's going to be a lot of single entry, so that allows me to eat some chalk. I think I'm going to have 1 or 2 different guys in my lineup, and I can play the plays I want to play. I think in the GPPs, I'm going to have a really hard time playing enough lineups to get leverage on the field with the guys I want to play. So I think I'm sticking to higher dollar single entry this week.
I can see that being effective, because the GPP guys are going to be maxing out, and their player pools are going to be humongous. They're going to have a buckshot approach to this whole thing, which honestly in that position is exactly what you should do for this kind of event, is have a large player pool full of long shots, and whatever you get is what you get. But you're not going to want to chalk it up at the top in the GPP here, because it provides no value to bet alongside other guys who have the same idea. We're going to see a lot of chalk in these GPP lobbies, and single entry is a way to get there. Higher dollar amounts where you're going to have a lower winning score, that's the ticket. So even if you could combine those two with a high entry fee single entry tournament, where your picks are against somebody else's picks, and it might mean the difference. 1 or 2 golfers in your lineup versus the other ones make a huge difference. That's where you probably should live in DFS this week, because you're going to want to save some bankroll for the next 3 weeks, because we got Torrey Pines, we got Riviera, we got Pebble Beach coming up on the schedule. Those are going to be excellent fields, extremely strong at legendary golf courses. And I don't want to spend a bunch of money on a crapshoot like the Amex. Honestly, this is just what this tournament is all about. Hopefully we don't see this format ever again, but Pro-Ams get a lot of attention, especially in the charities down in the area where they are played. So who knows? But I'm a fan of this event for betting or for DFS, because nobody knows anything about anything. We know a lot. But even we're looking at each other, just shaking our head, going, "What the hell is going to happen this week?" And nobody really knows.
No, that's true. But I mean, I think to the point, and then we can get into the actual plays. But I think to the point, like right now, like I'll tell you 2 guys that I really want to play are Ryo Hatsasuni and Ben Coles. And the beautiful thing about that is I can stack my lineup however I want outside of them, because no one is playing them. Ben Coles is a projected 4%. Rio is projected 8%. Both of them showed up and performed last week. They're guaranteed 3 rounds. Like, my confidence is high that I'm going to get at least 80 plus points out of either of them as my last man in, even if they don't make that Sunday cut. So I think you can eat a ton of chalk here if you're deploying the strategy we just talked about and playing single entries. I think we can give you some leverage plays if you're going to try and take a shot at GPPs. But I'm definitely rolling out more of a condensed player pool.
Yeah, and I'm doing the same. I think I limited to 24 golfers this week, which is very small for me. I'm usually 35 to 40 strong. But to avoid entering too many lineups and risking too much of my bankroll, I think it's smarter to stay close to the vest this week and roll with the guys I have supreme confidence in. Like your two guys are long shots technically, but value wise, you can fit any lineup with any golfers in it when you start with those two. So that's a pretty smart strategy, Connor. I mean, I hate to give you all that credit, but I mean sometimes you make a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's my cross to bear. But all right, let's do some plays. So starting at the top, believe it or not, Scottie Scheffler is sort of leverage up at the top. Scottie is
Love to see it. You love to see it.
So I'll tell you this, like where I'm very, very hot to trot on Cantlay and Xander in the outright market, I'm more excited to play Scheffler here. So
yeah, chalky as hell.
Yeah, so I'm going to be, as far as over 10K is concerned, the only guy that's going to find their way into my rosters probably is going to be Scotty. And even that, I may be just skipping the whole upper tier altogether because of the projected rostership there. Just because that is the absolute starting point for everybody, and there's a ton of value in the nines. So,
yeah. And I hate to agree with you again, but I found myself in cash lineups starting with Xander and Sungjae, and then you're left with 7,200 per the remaining 4 players. And that's really tough to do in this field, is find 4 guys at an average of 7,200 and make a good optimal lineup. So where I love these guys and I think they're going to do well, you have to build a 6-man lineup that's going to do something for you, especially if you're really – the 54-hole cut is going to be pretty harsh on us. We're going to get 3 rounds of points, and very few people are going to have 6 out of 6 lineups. What that means is if you have a 6 out of 6 lineup this week, you're going to win. It's going to be very hard to lose if you have a 6 out of 6 lineup after 54 holes, honestly.
So for me, it's Scotty. For you, it's Xander up top.
Yep.
And then I'm sure you're going to have some Sungjae shares.
Yeah, and I'm starting some lineups with Sungjae as well instead of going expensive. I have a good mix of starting points at 10K or above, but where I want to start is with 2 guys over 10, and it just makes a really rough lineup.
I mean, I think honestly where I'm finding myself gravitating towards is starting at doing like a Minwoo JT start. JT Poston. Minwoo and then Poston. Not that either one of them isn't bordering on being a little chalky. Like Minwoo is at about 13% right now. Poston is at almost 20%. But I think starting there and having those two is a unique way to do it. And I think the upside on both, as we already talked about with Poston, the way he's playing right now, he can definitely win. And then as Bo alluded to with Minwoo, I mean, Minwoo can absolutely win as well. And he's actually trending on a trajectory better than Poston. If you look at recent performances, especially including some of the DP stuff in the Australian tour. So I think that those two as a combo to start your lineup is a really easy way to get unique quick. And still maintain some value in return. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, especially because I'm going to be doing a lot less rosters.
I'm building an absolutely filthy, disgusting leverage lineup right now that starts with JT Poston.
And probably goes Chris Kirk, Eric Cole.
Not even. I just logged in JT Poston, Akshay Bhatia, and Daniel Berger. And I have 8,200 left for my last 3 spots. So help me out here.
Yeah, dude, that's filthy, and we can definitely get in there.
That's nasty. That's like scraping the bottom of the barrel to start, and then going even farther down.
Well, what's nice about it is actually, and this is a really unsexy play, but rates out really well. So to give you another idea, and this is probably a little more geared to our GPP crowd, but 8,700 for Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry rates out number 6 in my modeling. He's not a fun guy to play. He's frustrating. He's a lot like Tony Finau sometimes. But But Lowry, when you look at the off the tee game and you look at par 5 scoring, as well as par 3 scoring, Lowry is pretty high ranked in this field. As a matter of fact, he's inside of the top 10 in all those metrics. I liked your call out earlier a little bit about Cam Davis at 8,400 as well.
I just put him in.
I think he's going to end up. I think he's going to end up with some higher rostership. But what I like about Cam Davis is he's right there. He's been right there for quite a while, and he scores a lot of points. So for our purposes in DK, you're getting at least 3 rounds out of him. That's a lot of point output.
So this lineup, it ranges from 9,100 to 7,500. I got Poston, I got Eric Cole, I got Akshay Bhatia, I got Daniel Berger, and I got Ryo Hitsatsuni and Cam Davis.
Yeah, I don't hate much about that.
That's a GPP lineup. I mean, really, we got a couple guys in single digits there that are going to be really hard to duplicate. Like, nobody's really playing Berger yet because they're too scared.
I'm not afraid to play Berger. And as a matter of fact, you were right. Like, you got a couple more of the guys going down the board here that I was going to call out. Like Bhatia, 100% I'm going to play. Berger is definitely in my player pool as well. So I like those plays. And then when you get into the sevens, like I'm like the high sevens, like Steven Yeager, man, has been playing
Jaeger bombs,
showering that shit. But
all the boys are getting laid.
It's my new fucking haircut.
Not now, Chief. I'm in the fucking zone.
Check in, buddy. Oh man, that's a throwback.
Yep.
If Steven Yeager,
the internet was great.
Steven Yeager wins, we're clipping that for the next show. But yeah, Steven Yeager actually, joking aside, off the tee game's excellent. Approach game has been really solid the last few starts. He's an excellent par 5 scorer. In 7,900, I think that he's every bit as good as some of these guys in the upper 8s, especially the current trend he's on. So I really like some shares of Steven Yeager. And it looks like I can't see it real well because I'm still in the producer window. But if you've got him in yours, I'd let you talk about him a little too.
With who? Steven
Yeager.
He popped up kind of middle of the pack for me, but especially on the ball striking metrics, he's great. He didn't correlate really well in the greens for me, which is it kind of drags him down a little bit. But at the same time, the guy price adjusted in DFS is fantastic. And then the Zalatoris thing is interesting. I was going to ask you about that because we both love Willie Z, friend of the show. Coming off back surgery, hasn't quite been in a form yet, but we've seen some encouraging signs and spurts in his first 2 starts this season. 7,900, of course, rates out well here. What do we think? I mean, is this worthy of a player pool spot yet? Or are we waiting longer on Willie Z?
I think if you're playing GPPs, I think he's a really solid play. Like I definitely would have him in my pool. Like if I had a player pool of 35 to 40 people, like Zalatoris would be in there at like probably 5%. Just a nice way to get a little different. And really he hasn't been doing anything that's going to get people on him. Is it right there? Is he like ready to round back into form? I don't know if I'm there yet. I think there's still a lot of things that he does really poorly. Like his putting is still,
you can't even watch it. It's like Cam Young bad.
It's gross. I mean, so I think Zalatoris,
when it makes Connor's putting stroke look good, then we got problems.
Dude, we got to get out and play because that's the only thing I do well.
Mine too.
but I think Zalatoris is going to have a resurgence. I just think we need to get a few more starts for him. I don't think he's there. And I mean, realistically, you don't need to play him here. You're going to get 3 rounds out of a lot of other guys. So this is just no need to force Zalatoris yet. He ain't going to win. So you're not going to miss out on too much, I don't think.
I kind of agree. I like the story. I want to be part of that resurgent storyline that we're going to get later this year when Willie Z just gets hot and starts making some putts. Because as a ball striker, this guy's phenomenal. Like he's so much fun to watch hit an iron shot. But yeah, he's got a long way back to get where he wants to be. Let's skip right down to it. Are there anybody in the 7s that you're looking at? Because I have quite a few in the 7s and even a couple more in the 6s that I would love to put into my player pool.
So in the sevens, well, I'll let you. I've been talking a ton. You go ahead with your sevens. I'm trying to reload my screen anyway, so you go ahead.
All right, so we got the. Jeez, this is tough. All right, I'm gonna create a new lineup here, and I'm gonna start down there like you did earlier. You had a couple guys that were cheaper. Aaron Rye. I'm kind of mixed on him because he rates out well here. However, this guy does not score DraftKings points. Like he just doesn't. He burns us even when he plays well. I don't necessarily like him in a birdie fest, but he rates out so well here.
Yeah,
Adam Schenk, I think I like Adam Schenk more for $100 less.
I'm probably out on both of them, and mostly because I want to be heavy on Rio. I really believe in the Rio. Like, I really believe that Rio is the real deal. If you look at his performance, like I said, across the rest of the world, like this guy is way elite for where he is priced. So
Yeah.
that's
Two guys at 7,300 I need you to pick between.
Okay.
Christian Bezadenhout rates out well here. Austin Eckrout, hotter than fish grease.
Who's my third one?
No, who do you prefer between those two?
Oh,
Bez or Eckroat? One rates out well here based on the course structure, and the other one is just playing awesome.
So I would probably lean probably Bez. Probably Bez. I think with Eckroat, his approach from the proximity ranges we're talking about is just not good. At least with Bez, who's a little bigger a hitter, he rates inside the top 30 from that 125 to 150. So that marries up really nice for him. And then in terms of like bogey avoidance, Bez is also in the top 15 in this field over the last 24 rounds. So I would lean Bez between those two. I think
Bez avoids birdies just as well as he avoids bogeys.
That's true, but like you're in a price range. You're in a price range where like Sam Ryder is right there, and like no, Sam Ryder hasn't done a ton of stuff lately, but excellent from those approach ranges.
He's a cut maker.
He's a cut maker, and he's a huge birdie scorer. Over his last 24 measured rounds, he rates 5th in this field for birdie or better average. So, like Sam Ryder at $7,200, I think if we were talking about Sam Ryder at the beginning of last season, Sam Ryder would have been probably up into the mid 7s, low 8s. So I think that there is some value with Sam Ryder here right now.
All right, and I got two guys that you like both of them, but I'm going to make you choose. Ben Coles or Chesson Hadley?
Ben Coles.
Really?
Ben Coles.
I like both. I like both of them in my pool, honestly.
Yeah, they're actually both of them are starred in my model. Chesson Hadley rates out better for me, but Ben Coles just to me is got the higher upside. Like as I look at the two of them, like I think Hadley probably has more pedigree, but I think that Ben Coles like legitimately could win. Like there's like he has that level of upside, whereas like I don't see Chesson Hadley doing that. Like I see Chesson Hadley scoring a fair amount of points for you, but like I don't see an alternate reality where Chesson Hadley wins.
Okay. Anybody deeper that you're looking at?
Deeper than that, I got love for Ryan Moore again this week. Continues to rate out really well.
What has he done though?
I think what's weird about it though is it like, does he need to have done anything really? I mean, to return value at 6,900. I mean, he's still
make the cut. Unlike last week, that would help.
Yeah, but I mean, he's that guy, right? Like you look at before that, like missed the cut at Sanderson, then he went 13, 38, 5th, 8th, and then missed the cut at the Sony. Before that, he had a similar little streak where he was like 25th and missed a cut, 64th, missed a cut, 14th, missed a cut. So like you get some volatility with Ryan Moore, and I'm not saying that he should find your way into every lineup, and he's not going to find his way into my single entry. But if I'm doing GPP, his approach metrics rate out pretty damn well. For a guy, as a matter of fact, he's second from that 150 to 175 range. He's also 5th in bogey avoidance. Also has a similar problem you mentioned before, where he doesn't score a ton of birdies. But I think at $6,900, it's pretty good return on investment. So,
Yeah, and let's see. I'm going down here. Noteworthy names: Ben Silverman, who I had never even heard of until last week, made some
Canadian
noise.
Silverman.
Yeah, Canadian Corn Ferry Tour, middle of the ground on the Corn Ferry Tour, made it inside that top 20 for limited eligibility on the PGA Tour this season. Finished 18th at the Sony. I don't really trust a guy I've never even heard of, but he popped a little bit. Camilo Villegas, just recent form. Guy's putting the lights out, but ball striking wise, he's still bad. He's just somehow just makes a ton of putts and finds himself into contention. 6,500 for a guy playing well seems a little cheap for your GPP. And that's about it. Justin Lauer looks okay on this model, but he's so cheap that I don't find myself needing to go down that far. Yeah, Pearson Cootie would be the lowest one I'd go at 6,200 just because of his talent, but he's ice cold these days.
So you're going to call me a liar, and I'll send you a screenshot so you believe me after the show. I played a showdown slate on Sunday that I captained Norman Chung.
What?
Yeah, well, check it out. So I took Norman Chung as my captain, and then
He's cheap.
I took the other main top four guys that were going to go out in the last two pairings as the rest of my field. And so, I mean, it ended up working out because he actually scored a few birdies. He didn't finish great, but he scored enough points to make it make sense. So the only reason I bring that up is in essentially a modified no cut type of deal. Like, he might actually be somebody, if you're way the hell down here, 6,400, like, he's a real player. Who yours truly did gamble on last weekend. So he is somebody that we're aware of. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, the Cooties are down here. And then, I mean, it's pretty rough. Like, Jason Duffner rates out okay, but he's always okay.
God, what a year is it?
But yeah, outside of that, like, there's not a whole lot down here. Like, I want to believe that, like, Brandt Snedeker may eventually, like, have some kind of a, like, mini comeback. You're seeing more and more of that with some of these guys that you know their name and they just all of a sudden pop. So, I mean, he's somebody down here who's a real golfer that you've heard of that does have the upside to compete and win at tournaments. He's done it. It's just been a long time. So, but I'll tell you what, in my honest opinion, if you're building to a point that you're down here, you're doing something wrong, because there's a lot of ways to build really solid lineups up top.
Can I let you in on a secret? The first lineup I built, I was down here and I knew I was in the wrong place. I was like, I did something wrong. It was the first thought in my mind. It was like, I shouldn't be here.
Oh, I got
to scene in Super. Yeah, it was like the scene in Superbad where he got closed in the room where they were doing cocaine, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're Jimmy's brother. Sing us a song." Who's that guy?
This is a line for the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, I'm nobody. No, you're the one with the beautiful voice.
The part that I always remember from that movie is when he's sprinting away from the cop cars and he's like, "The kid's a freak, fastest kid alive."
Seth Rogen nailed that.
But yeah, Royal, maybe for the majors we'll do an extended format where we do a cocktail.
For the Masters, we got to do an Azalea.
Yeah, I mean, that was a classic. So yeah, we'll get a little more cocktail in our life. Not that I need any more cocktail. I'm numbing my shoulder effectively tonight.
All right, who do you got winning this damn thing?
I'm really, really torn, but I think it's Akshay Bhatia. I think he does it. I think
Let's fucking go.
It's deeper than probably I normally go for my pick of the week, but I think it's Akshay.
I will co-sign that pick, and I'll throw in Sung JM just for the favorite aspect, the 20-1 Sung JM. I co-sign Akshay.
Since we never agree, so since we're co-signing that one, I would say next up, I think Xander gets it. I think Xander gets it if Akshay doesn't.
And I have all three of those guys on my betting slips. So there you go. Connor and Bo agree again. And if you look back to last year, we won a lot when we agreed. So
yeah, we do agree. We do agree on a lot of stuff this week. So that's either means we're all going to make a bunch of money, all dozens of people that have listened to us,
well, nobody knows shit about fucking this tournament. So who knows?
or we're all going to be drowning our sorrows on Sunday. But hey,
I do that win or lose.
yeah, me too, especially being a
Drown
Viking.
the joys with the sorrows, because at the end of the day, we still wake up and poop and eat and go back to bed.
It's like I was just about to say, I'm being a Vikings fan. I got nothing to go live for anymore other than, I don't know, maybe the Packers losing eventually.
If anything, I know that the Cowboys are exciting.
Yeah, they're going to be riveting on their couches at home this weekend.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, that's what happens when you come completely unprepared to a home playoff game. You deserve to lose and get embarrassed. And the fans aren't going to back you up. Guess what? I've been a fan since I was 5 years old. You know what that means? I haven't seen the Cowboys really not let me down in 27 years. So imagine the scar tissue built up to where I know that no matter how many great things happen during the regular season, I just know that nothing's going to come of it. So, like, even going into the Green Bay game, I was like, we could very well get blown out off this field. And by the second quarter, I knew that was going to happen. It was over so quickly that I just smiled and said, well, I guess we'll see you again next year, because that's what the Cowboys do every single year. And so, yeah, I'm just scarred by it. I'm jaded, and I have no hope that they're ever going to win again in my lifetime. And that's because of Jerry Jones. Guess what? Guess what?
Same Dallas time, same Dallas season. We'll see you next year.
Yeah.
But so hopefully everybody enjoyed tonight. We ran a little long, but that's what happens when the cocktails start flowing and you're talking about a tournament that neither Bo or I want to disagree on immensely. So we got to find other stuff to talk about along the way. So glad to have
Winning score.
I'm going to stick with, I think it gets in that 24 range, somewhere right in there. I'll say 24.
I nailed last week. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And where I went higher scoring last week than you. I think you went like 21 or whatever. And I was like, were you 19 or 20, something like that? But I just went under a little bit at 17. And then this week, I'm going to go lower than you. I'm going to say 29 wins this. Yeah. 29.
First
I
round.
Let's go Akshay. Let's see. Let's see what the kids got.
I'm gonna say Akshay with like an asterisk. Like, I don't know what course he's starting on, but if he gets a good draw, I'm gonna say Akshay.
Again, this is another thing we didn't cover, is your first round leaders. You want to go with the La Quinta course as your first round leader. Pick somebody who's going to play La Quinta that day.
Or if you got a really strong lean, just go Nicholas or La Quinta.
Yeah.
I don't
La Quinta's so easy.
Yeah. I would look that way. And also honestly, if you're gonna look at it that way, pick a course draw and pick a early tee time. Get out before it dries out at all. And pick people that are throwing darts, because that's the name of the game this week. So look for strong approach and look for one of the easier courses for first round leader.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. From Connor, I'm Bo. Join us next week for the Farmers. That's going to be a good one. I can't wait for next week. Dude, it's actually a real event.
Hopefully next week I'm not like hopped up on pain meds and biofreeze and I can feel my shoulder again. I'm like,
I don't care if you are. Torrey Pines gets everybody up.
Oh. Hopefully I'm a little more with it. We'll see you next week.
Oh crap. I had the drop up and I lost it. There it goes.